with Paul Rosen.
Our diets, our Western diets in America are just really, you just don't realize how poor they really are.
What would you say to others who would like to feel better?
Sometimes you need to find the instructions. That's where the testing and everything comes in, because without that knowledge, there's no way I could have got to the point where I'm at today.
Straight talk about health.
And then I start preaching and telling them what I've been doing. And this guy named Paul Rosen has changed my life.
With your host, Paul Rosen.
By the way, the information contained in this program is not approved by the FDA, nor intended to treat, diagnose, or claim to cure any medical condition or disease as defined by Western medicine. However, skilled practitioners of many disciplines have found nutrition response testing to be a highly reliable supportive technology for assessing the health and fitness of the body's functional system.
How would you like to have something, Paul, that would cure your constipation? It would also maybe act as a cancer preventative and make your skin look smooth and young again. How would you like all those things?
You're not trying to sell me some magical elixir of some sort, are you?
Maybe. I'm trying to sell you flaxseed oil because the makers of this product claim that all those things I've mentioned and much more are factors that could be affected by your use of this particular product.
So let's just cut to the chase, right? Every fresh food has been associated with some improvement of some condition or other. Having said that, right, there is a way to know on the front side whether or not that will happen. And that's by utilizing the nutrition response testing methodology, right? Otherwise, you have no clue. And consuming something just based on turning around some symptom is basically, potentially illusory.
In addition
potentially illusory.
And here's an illusion. Quite possibly.
You are an illusion.
I would like to have smooth, young skin again. Would you not? Well, flaxseed oil,
you could
say
use
the
it
makers,
especially on the top of your head. Oh, me too.
I don't care about that. I've given up on that project.
Okay.
I'm okay with the chromo.
All right.
I mean, Luthor, Kojak. Think of all the great people who have
Luthor, a great person.
Yeah, he's pretty smart. He took down that guy at the Cape.
Speaking of which, I just saw the Justice League. We could get into that.
Excuse us while we go off on a brief tangent, folks. I thought Justice League was fine. It was a movie that was generally panned by critics and many in the audience. Is that
true?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I enjoyed it.
It was not a well-liked movie. It made some money, but it was generally, like I said, not liked by critics, and a lot of people who are superhero fans and general audience members also found it lacking.
I'm so sorry. I enjoyed it.
Well, there you go. There's our review of Justice League.
Really important thing about flaxseed oil to understand is that it is one of the most fragile oils that is consumable. And what I mean by that is it's highly oxidative. Once that oil is exposed to the air, it begins to go rancid. It only takes 24 hours, and that oil is rancid. Now, why is that important? Because any flaxseed oil that comes in a bottle is somehow, in a container that is potentially exposed to the air, you're basically consuming. Once you've opened that bottle, well, actually, we don't even know exactly how long it's been exposed to the air before it gets in the bottle, right? Or the container. So that's really important to understand.
You're getting a diluted product to begin with.
You're getting a rancid product to begin with, potentially.
And this stuff is just so fragile. That's really unusual.
Very fragile. It's the, if not the most, certainly one of the most fragile oils that's consumable for humans.
A couple of important points to make. One, flaxseed oil is not only being used now as something to rub on your skin and also as something to include in your diet. It's also an ingredient in paints, varnishes, linoleum, and soap. One other important point, Justice League is now available on DVD.
I know, I got it.
Oh, okay. Plus, you can get it in Red Box, too. So, for $1.50,
you flaxseed lovers, you really have to go back and investigate. Where does this oil come from? How long has the oil been exposed before it ever got into the container you're using? right?
So that's something to consider even before you're buying into all these alleged health benefits. It's the fact that you may be getting a product that's flawed right out of the bottle.
And I will tell you, using the nutrition response testing methodology, that probably 50% of the people I've ever tested for it don't test well for it.
Why is that, do you think?
It could be product. It could be product, and it also could be that vegetable oils or oils whose source comes from plants, right, are not nearly as healthy as the oils that come from animals.
Let's take it back to basics. Why is flaxseed oil a thing right now? Or, you tell me, Paul, has it been a thing for some time, or is it kind of trendy? What's happening?
Well, it's been a thing for some time, but it's also trendy now.
So it's kind of like a thing that's been around for a while, but for whatever reason, it's being picked up on and marketed as a cure-all, it seems, in many ways.
And that's when you know you really have to fade it. I mean, you really have to be skeptical, right? Anytime anybody is promoting a product, a supplement, or a particular food for this or that, I mean, I've got cases where people who were sensitive to greens, people who are having diarrhea. Turns out that dark green leafy vegetables are really hard on kidneys, and kidneys are the source of chronic diarrhea.
So apply the same principle to flaxseed oil, right? It may have these unintended effects.
So it may or may not be useful for you, but please do not be seduced by the trendiness of that product. And in any event, you must know that animal fats are much healthier than vegetable oils by light years. Light years. In 1909, cardiovascular disease was rare in America. But by 2000, it affected some 60 million people and became the leading cause of death, right? But it turns out that the per capita fat consumption, although it increased by 33% between 1909 and 1999, saturated fat consumption remained nearly constant. You get my point?
No, why don't you outline that for me a little bit?
Bottom line is that saturated fat consumption didn't change much between 1909 and 2000, even though the incidence of heart disease changed dramatically.
So saturated fat is not the culprit.
But what increased was the consumption of vegetable oils. That's what increased.
So vegetable oils obviously could be part of this problem.
Mm-hmm. The marked rise in intake of unsaturated fats from vegetable oils accounted for almost 97% of the increased dietary fat during this time.
And flaxseed oil we're counting as a vegetable oil, right? Because it's derived from the seed for this particular plant. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, well, I'm just clarifying your point.
If it's derived, if the oil's derived from some plant,
mm-hmm.
We include that in the vegetable oil category.
All right, so maybe we should be having more fat in our diet.
In America, during the past 100 years, animal fat intake has remained virtually constant, while the consumption of processed unsaturated vegetable oil products has increased fourfold, along with such degenerative diseases as obesity, heart disease, cancer, and diabetes.
Now, other factors which may contribute to that, I assume, are environmental factors, just the fact that we don't live in the same world now that we lived in 1909.
Well, that's a definite, and that speaks to the environmental impingements that I talk about constantly on these shows. But we're just talking about fat and what people are eating, because people have been bludgeoned into believing that saturated fats are bad for them, and especially saturated fats that come from animals. And nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing.
So plants are the villain here, not the animals.
Vegetable oil are the things you should be avoiding. Yes. Oh my gosh. What a thought.
What was the movie with the big giant man eating plant? It was a musical. It was a cheap horror film back in the day, but it was remade as a musical in the 80s.
Was it Oh Veggie, How I Miss You or something?
No, it was not that. Anyway, I'm just thinking of that when I think about, in this case, as you've indicated, we have vegetable oils causing the problem.
The best oils that you can use, for your daily consumption and cooking are things like olive oil and vegetable and coconut oil and peanut oil and sesame oil, nut oils.
All those things are contributing to bad health. So how do we get around that? We just don't include those in our diets, or should we be looking at food labels to make sure those aren't part of the mix?
The oils that I would recommend are the ones I just listed. Right, and then
Little Shop of Horrors, by the way,
Little Shop of Horrors, and then if you
plant-eating musical.
if you are buying a food, make sure you look at the label before you put it in your shopping cart.
So is flaxseed oil included as a food ingredient? Because, again, it seems to be promoted as a cure-all. Not only can you have it in your food and derive the alleged benefits from that, but you can rub it on your skin.
Yes, absolutely it is, and especially in the organic, some of the organic products because of its, touted uses.
You've advocated the use of some things too, like coconut oil. You say that's good for your skin. I just lost my headphones there for a second.
Oh my gosh.
We've been having headphone issues.
Issues.
That's okay. It's all under control.
Yeah.
But coconut oil, for example, does work well as a lotion. Is that right?
Yes. Very well.
So we shouldn't necessarily, should we just discount the whole flaxseed oil thing, or should we just approach it with a wariness and just be aware of what's going on with these things?
Flaxseed oil absolutely has some wonderful properties. But what I'm saying is not for everyone. Do not assume that the properties, these wonderful properties that flaxseed oil contains and may provide, don't assume that they will for you unless you have a way of testing your autonomic nervous system to find out what it feels.
So let's bring it full circle, as we should not count on medications to be a cure-all. I guess we shouldn't count on faddish things like flaxseed oil to provide all the benefits that they claim to provide.
Absolutely not. I mean, I'm a practitioner who deals with the worst of the worst, the people who have done this and done that and done something else. This is my message, folks. My message is that just because a product or a food or something is hyped as having a particular healing quality or healthcare quality or something like that, don't get sucked in. Be skeptical, right? Don't just go out there and run out there and buy it and start utilizing it thinking that you're going to get the benefit of it when there is a way to ensure that you'll get the benefit out of it. And that's having your own nutritional healing program and utilizing the evaluation methodology of nutrition response testing.
One more note, you can get a free chapter of Paul Rosen's book, The Missing Piece. Just go to his website, acunatural.com, acunatural.com, and fill out the dialog box that pops up. Rest assured, no information you provide will ever be shared with anyone else. So, what are you waiting for? Get going on your personal road to wellness today.